Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Sharp Objects, episode 2. It is called Dirt. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. And we were right. All the titles are all words that she's got in her body.
What a shock.
Yeah, two out of two. I'd be highly surprised if they change that system.
If they do, it'll be for the last one.
It'll be the finale, and it'll be a word that's on something else.
Yeah. Or maybe it'll be at some point there'll be a word she contemplates put in there.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It'd be cool if they put like the word. The title was the word, but it was like it was scored out because she doesn't actually go through with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too hard of this. So obviously we left last time. We saw the scars. Second girl turned up dead, and this episode is largely about the funeral of that girl, the family dealing with it, Camille doing her investigation. Obviously there's more personal stuff, and we also have Detective Willis kind of looking into the two murders and sort of looking into it. But let's start with him actually. Let's start with Teeth and Pliers. And I did notice, I mean, because there was a motif with Camille this episode with spiders and spider webs.
Yeah.
They were there quite a few times throughout the episode, and there wasn't as many pliers. But I did notice that later on, I seen with the police chief, he had pliers like attached to the stop sign that he was hammering. And I don't know if it was necessarily meaning anything, but because I was looking for spiders, you know, after a while I was looking for webs and spiders and that imagery. That I was like, oh, more pliers. The pliers important too.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. I think the pliers and the teeth were face value.
I would like to think so. Yes.
Yes. So he goes to the coroner and he's like, yeah, the teeth were pulled out with pliers, and he's like, would that be easy? Like, how strong would that? How much strength would that take? And he's like, oh no, take some muscle. Like, so, and we see him just like come back to his motel, and he throws a pig's head. And because we keep hearing about how this town made its money, like the rich people made their money from pigs, like it's just it's a hog town, and he just pulls out some pliers. He's got a variety of pliers as well. He's got a selection, and he tries to pull out some pliers, and we never actually see him pull it off. He just kind of we see him just struggling and as best he can to do it, but he just quite can't. Because one of the plot points that comes up as well is there's some casual sexism from the sheriff or from the chief about. It has to be a man, because one of the things that comes up with Camille is that there was a kid who witnessed the kidnapping of the second girl. At least he claims so. He claims he saw her be taken by a woman in white, and we find out that this is a myth, a local legend, that there's a woman in white, a ghost. And obviously I don't think for a second the show is actually suggesting we're going down that path. It could be what Camille says at one point, where maybe someone is trying to make it real by being a woman in white.
It's just perfectly possible.
Yeah, whether that's an actual woman who's committing the crime, whether there's more than one culprit, therefore that explains the strength thing.
Yeah, could be a guy dressed up.
Could be someone dressed up. All these things, but the way the sheriff, the chief dismisses it though, did feel like just a casual. Because obviously what we talked a lot about last week was the idea of the pain specifically of the women characters being ignored and hidden and not even being considered by the other characters. And I think that was another example of that from the sheriff. I keep saying sheriff. I don't think he's a sheriff. I think he's a chief. But that really matters in the grand scheme of things.
I think the difference is a sheriff is elected, whereas a chief is just promoted to the job.
Yeah, well, I mean, that could become relevant, but I think in the context of the show, it's not.
It doesn't really matter.
It's not that important.
I just thought I'd share that.
I learned something. There you go. Yeah. I'll take it. But yeah, another small touch actually, just in terms of people working on things around the town square. I like there was a woman taking down all the missing posters.
Yeah.
For the girl, because she didn't want the family to see them constantly. Because obviously we see the family in pain, struggling, and
there's no need for them once she's found, even if it's in this state.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, of course. I don't think anyone's going to question the need or the lack of the need for them anymore.
So it's very pragmatic of them to take them down so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, well, cause it's something I would never have thought of, but it's actually a really nice gesture. It's like, they don't need to see these, reminding them like every two steps.
That's it, because people don't bother. If you put like a missing cat poster and then, okay, found the cat. No one bothers going around taking all the posters back down, because it doesn't really matter, does it?
That's true, yeah. So you got all these people looking for your cat. The cat's
I don't think anyone's actively searching for the cat. It's more, hey, if you see it.
You're good neighbours, they will. Good human beings.
Sure. I mean,
Unlike
really,
you.
It's a cat. They're like, whatever.
No. How dare you? So So yeah, we have all these little like snippets of the case that are brought up, and we do have this woman in white legend. And I think one thing we have to talk about with Camille is that we start and end the episode with her listening to music, and we're having quick flashes of stuff we saw last episode. We're having quick flashes, and the one at the start of the episode ends with like her seeing, like basically her sister but grown up. Is what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And obviously just there for a split second, then she disappears, and it's again much like a lot of the scenes last week where we were getting the flashbacks. And there's a few other little flashbacks here or there that are just kind of like very neatly inserted into the scenes, because they're not like outright scenes in themselves. They're just little snippets and glimpses in between the moments, and they tend to be quite relative to what's going on. You know, she's at a funeral, she remembers the funeral of her sister, and you know,
it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. And because she's seeing things that are probably not there. Specifically, when she's talking to the two kids playing catch, she sees a woman in white in the trees, and then they accidentally hit her with the ball, and like she turns around, she's not there anymore. And someone actually in the comments did mention that some of the words that she was seeing, like graffitied or whatever, onto like signs and stuff last week, they were speculating that those weren't there either. That it was just her seeing them. Like the one example was when she comes into the town and it's the welcome sign, and it says I can't remember the exact phrase. It was something like, "Oh, good luck trying to leave," or "You'll never leave," or something. Like it's and given that we're seeing stuff this week where she is kind of seeing things that aren't there, and not in a super like trippy way where it's like, you know, I mean, they might swerve us later on and give us like a proper little like.
Yeah, but I mean, like the graffiti you can kind of take or leave, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I buy that it was in her head, but it's just something. Well, yeah, people graffiti. Whereas this, where it's okay, she's seeing a person. There's flashes of images. It's always very clear with those things what's real and what isn't.
Yeah, because it always immediately goes away, and she's like, she's like on some level aware that okay, I'm just seeing things.
I feel like they'll probably play with it. Like the killer, eventually she'll see, then you know she'll turn away, and the killer will go away, and we'll be like, oh, I was just in her head, but obviously it wasn't.
But it wasn't, yeah. There's actually a movie. I won't say what movie. It's just for spoiler's sake. But there was a horror movie last year that did a good thing like that where the character was seeing things all movie, and then so every time she saw something, it was fine. It was maybe creepy, but you knew it wasn't real. It was in her head until one thing wasn't, and it was really there, and it was actually a really good moment. Arguably the best moment of that entire movie. People can speculate in the comments if they wish.
I'm intrigued. Did I see this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just one of the drivel you watch for Screams.
That's assuming people don't like it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think this was very interesting. I thought it was also very interesting that as she left that scene where she saw the woman in white, we'd be focused on a spider's web in the foreground. And obviously earlier on at the funeral, the wake, she went into the girl's bedroom, which, you know, I felt was a bit of a like invasion of privacy. Like myself, I was like, oh, this feels a bit weird just stumbling in there. At the same time though, when her mother like stumbled in and started like chastising her for it, like her attitude with her all episode, and well, since the start of last week as well, has been so like, what's the right word? I don't. It's not dismissive. It's more like she just always assumes she's misbehaving. She always assumes
hypercritical.
Yeah. So as soon as she started like complaining to her, it's like, oh, how dare you? This is, you know, total breach of privacy and blah blah blah. This is so personal. You should understand, you know, your sister, and so between the spider there and then the web later, like I'm okay, right? So the metaphor here is clearly that someone's been tangled in the web, right? Presumably Camille, being her main character. Or at least
she feels it's her.
At least she feels that way. I mean, that could be kind of one of the main points of the show, is that she feels like she's stuck in a web, but really it's just her perception that she's stuck in the web. Which would maybe like tie into why she feels the need to self-harm, and we get more glimpses of that in this episode where she has that needle, or even just the idea that clearly her family knows her history, because her mother doesn't want her chopping up an apple, even though she's right there in front of everyone, and you know, it's the morning, it's breakfast, she's going to chop up an apple. And also notice that her mother says, I'll do that, and then hands it to the maid. I thought that was a subtle little
it was, yeah,
subtle little jab there, which is pretty good. So no, I thought that stuff was pretty effective in that sense, and I do like I like the idea of recurring images being important to the overall themes, even if, like, you know, we never do anything big and grandiose with a spider or something like that. You know, it's just a thematic thing.
No, I'm with you.
And I guess her letting the spider go as well is just also a sign of, okay, for all the messed up, parts of her personality. Like there's genuine qualities in there where you can go, okay, no, that was just an act of a good person. That was an act of kindness. So we're building like a strong character profile for her, which is I think important in a show that is so slow burn and so much about the character burn.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about this? You were a bit more down in the first episode.
Yeah, I feel kind of similar. I feel like it's, again, when I'm thinking about it, there's lots of good things in there. Obviously, when we're talking about it, there's lots of good discussion. When I after I finish watching, I think back and I boil down. Okay, here are the things that happen. Here are the character beats, etc. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. I think the direction's still leaving me feeling kind of cold. I picked up on something this week. Last I was kind of struggling to put my finger on it.
No, go on.
There's a really key thing in the sound design that was really bugging me. That a lot of the time, especially with when it's a Camille scene, it feels like if you're on Skype, whatever, and you leave your mic on the auto level and you go silent, so it boosts to try and pick up more background noise.
Yes, it's awful.
Yeah, this episode does that a lot, where it leaves the background noise just really high in the mix. And even it does it a lot when it's silent, and it's a bit more forgivable then, although I can still hear it kind of hissing and it bothers me. But there are points where there are still people talking, but I can hear like birds chirping way louder than they should be. Just to give this, I get the point is like this heightened perception again. There's this,
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's intentional. This is not a mistake on the part of the filmmakers.
No, it's absolutely not a mistake. It's way too blatant and too severe to be a mistake. But I really don't like it, is the problem.
I think I like it well enough when she's completely on her own. I mean, it's just her walking around and it's just her like observing things. I kind of like it because it does have this, like you say, a heightened sense of perception. Almost like she's been drowned out by the ambience around her. Which again, it's the feeling that she feels closed in by everything. She's stuck in the web. She's trapped. All that stuff. She's trapped in her mother's dress, which she wears, which rips at the funeral and reveals the scars, and she has to quickly run out to fix it. Which that scene as well, like her mother constantly grabbing the pen out of her hand, and that struggle, this literal struggle for the pen.
You got people looking around every so often.
Yeah,
just being like, what's going on there?
And the beauty of this moment is that if her mother just didn't make a fuss, no one would even notice.
Oh, of course.
But because she's making a fuss and it's turning into a little struggle, people are starting to pick up on the noise.
I think it's maybe one of the most genuine moments from the mother, in that she's saying to us like, no, we're going to the funeral to support the family, not to do your job. I think because obviously she's been through this to some extent. And it's a case of no, we're doing this properly. I don't think I think this one is less about the image, because obviously they arrived late, and I think if it was all about the image, they'd have been there early.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what. And I think here again, like you say, if she hadn't took it, it wouldn't have drawn attention to it. I think it was more about just genuinely respecting the moment in that one.
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's she's not necessarily unjustified, in her. It's the sort of thing where like. I don't think Camille's doing anything wrong. Like, a pen and paper is silent. Right? It's not making any noise. It's not disrupting anything.
Yeah.
But our mother just can't let it happen in the corner of her eye, right next to her.
No, I get it from the respect. It's the same thing with the bedroom, right? She reacts really harshly and really goes at her, but she is right in what she's saying.
Oh, she is. Yeah. She absolutely is. And obviously it becomes a plot point later when she's talking to her editor, Camille. And he says, "Oh, did you get permission to go on? Otherwise, it could be not legally sticky, but ethically will be up shit creek." And she says, "Oh yeah, it's fine. Like, just give me a tour."
I got a tour.
And we knew that's a lie. We know that is just flat out blatant lie. Yeah. And she almost deletes it at the end. She's we can see it on the paragraph. She's about to delete the details about the bedroom because it's like, oh, I wasn't really supposed to be in there. And then she eventually she does click it. She has more of her moments, and she ends up she goes to actually not stab herself, but write another word, because she throws out all the needles from the knitting kit, but she keeps the one. There's one in the car that she's stuck in the side of the seat, and that's the one she's got. And we end on her going to almost, it looks like she's going to carve over the same word again.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like it's building up to it as well, because obviously at one point she sort of scratches it into her jeans, which, funnily enough, I actually had a pair of jeans once where you could actually just write things into it if you had, just, not even like a blade, just anything that had even like a pen that you unclipped. You could sort of scrape a
you
word
can do
into
that
it.
on my mouse mat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. That's some material where I can get like just let's say a pen that's unclicked
I don't really
and
have
put
a
it straight
point
down.
here. Just to say that I oddly found that relatable because I used to sit and do that for out of boredom, just
And
draw
your
things.
jeans, what sort of material were your jeans that would do that? I mean,
Um,
like because that
can't remember.
obviously old jeans are they're denim of some
Yeah,
sort,
yeah,
but like
yeah.
how do you get them to do that?
There was jeans. I'm sure there were jeans. Maybe they weren't quite jeans. Maybe I'm misremembering, and they were a slightly different material. But
Okay, well, it's just weird.
I don't know. It was just something I
I've
used to
never
do out
taken
of
it into
boredom.
mind.
It wasn't because I was planning. It wasn't a first draft that I could then go underneath and go into the leg. But but it builds up to that point at the end. It's all the episodes she's thinking about it. She wants to do it. She stabs her finger just a little bit, and all episodes it's rising. It's rising. And more. She goes to the bar and she talks to the Detective Willis, and he opens up about the whole pliers thing, because she like when she first hears from the chief about oh, it has to be a man, and it feels just kind of just casual sexism, just like no, this couldn't have been a woman. It takes a man to do this. She then approaches the detective with a bit more sort of tact and just says, okay, so he's sure it's a man. Why does he think it's a man? And he's like, well, statistics, and this is very true. The statistics say the vast majority of killers are men. It's just it's one of those things where even serial killers are sexist. You can't even become a serial killer. Your chances are still lower for whatever reason.
It's a hard career to break into.
Apparently, it is. You think it'd be the easiest? You just do it. You just grab a weapon and do it. But it is. Oh, and also the strength, and that's when he brings up the pliers thing. But during this scene, the point I was getting to is that there's like these guys heckling her and like buying her a drink, and again the themes of. I kind of like that. There's never outright. Like it's all very almost subtle sexism. It's not like there's not outright moments of someone telling her you can't do this because you're a woman. There's not like that moment. It's all of it's just this general they're unhappy she's there doing this. There's general little comments. It's all just kind of like baked into
small town sexism.
Yeah, it's all just kind of baked into the fabric of what's going on, and that kind of works. And what I thought was interesting about the case actually is Willis points out that why did the killer change his MO? Why did the first one was out in the forest at this this little stream? Why is this one displayed like a trophy almost, like a presentation? And it made me wonder, like, is it a different killer? Like, is the second one actually the same person?
It crossed my mind as well. I don't think so. The detectives say, hey, some of them want to be caught. This is almost like daring them. I think that's a possibility. I think if I was more inclined, the first one was almost accidental in the way they stumbled into it.
Yeah, it could be accidental or
almost like a practice run.
Yeah, I would say less accidental. I mean, it could be accidental, but I'd say it's more he wanted to kill, or she wanted to kill. It went through with it, or they wanted to kill even.
Yes.
Very possible. And they went through with it, and they enjoyed the reaction. And the reason why the second one is more of like a taunting trophy is because they want to poke it more. They want to go further. They're up in their game as well.
Yeah, I think for me, when I say accidental, I don't mean like the killing was an accident itself. I more mean they didn't go out planning to kill that night. It just kind of they stumbled into it. The opportunity arose.
Spur of the moment, I guess. Maybe you'd say. Yeah.
Whereas this one, it was it was planned. That's why there was there was a bit of time between it. It was okay, what's the plan? What we're gonna do?
Yeah, and there's some very specific. I will say I did think the father of the first victim, he is suitably kind of making me tense. I think the scene where she's like watching from a distance in the car, and as she drives by, you can actually tell that he notices her. It's just a briefest moment, but you can tell that he noticed he was being watched. And he's been very, and obviously the father of the second victim does not like him and wants him, far gone from their house. So he's clearly, I mean, he's a bit too obvious at this point, I think, to actually be the killer. But
I agree. Yeah,
there's definitely some suspense, and I can still buy him maybe becoming dangerous, just in terms of for Camille, for people who are investigating, I can see him being trouble in that sense.
Yeah.
But no, so the case is suitably interesting. It's not like super mesmerizing by any means.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I haven't got it's not being super cliche, super obvious.
Yeah.
But it's not the most interesting thing ever either.
Yeah. And going back to the whole Camille being in the web, the idea of those we'll just call them the bitchy friends who kind of almost ambush her at the funeral at the wake, and they come up and just start talking about various things about their own kids and whatnot, and asking her questions. and then our sort of our actual one true friend, as it were, Jackie, kind of bails her out. But again, it felt like again she feels trapped by this town. The entire town is the web, and
Yeah,
she's
definitely.
here. You know, so I'm curious to see like where that develops to thematically, and I think. It'll be interesting to see because I wasn't necessarily expecting her to write an article before the end of the show. I'll actually be curious to see now that this one can come out.
It's more of a series of articles. It's
Yeah.
going to be, isn't it?
So I'm wondering. I'm assuming that another girl will be taken, possibly her stepsister. I mean,
Is that too obvious?
it feels so personal that, like, especially if the killer's watching everyone and then picks her specifically because it's close to like her.
Yeah, yeah, but they make a point of saying no, the killer goes after the losers, right?
So
Not the
yeah, so
popular
far,
kids.
so far it's the losers who are being picked. Yeah. Um.
Which I mean, just to kind of argue my own point here, to go back to gaining confidence. The second one was more of a display. Maybe they're picking off the losers because they're like, they'll be easier. Less people will miss them, maybe from their
So
perception.
maybe they could escalate again and
Yeah,
start
maybe it
going
can
after
escalate. Yeah,
the loved ones of the community, I guess.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I could see that happening. I could see. I could see get after the sister if it is personal and they want to. It's because especially since like the sister like is all goody goody with her mum, although she does break down with her mum later on in the episode.
Yeah,
Which is a very notable scene. But she also we see that obviously she rebels against her mother's wishes. In this episode she's sneaking vodka into the Sprite, and I think it says a lot about Amy Adams' character Camille that she has a drinking problem. She might not admit that she has a drinking problem. I mean, her editor even says, "Oh, she thinks vodka doesn't linger on the breath," but he knows
yeah.
fine well. But she's just kind of like, yeah, careful with the vodka, and she's like, yeah, you can have money for the Sprite, knowing what she's doing. And in a larger world sense, it's not that extreme a moment, but it's from the perspective of her character who has her own problem, and the idea that this stepsister might become like her. It's like,
Yeah, I don't think she sees it as enabling a problem though. I think the way she probably sees it is, let's be honest, for a lot of teenagers, getting drunk with their friends like that is a very normal
oh no,
thing.
it absolutely is. But I think in this show, in the context of these characters, I think you have to look at it with a more of a
Oh no, you do, but I think that's the way she doesn't see it that way, is what I'm saying. She
yeah,
sees it as just being supportive and being like, yeah, go on, go have fun at your friend's house, sort of thing.
yeah. But clearly, I think you can read it as her really not being not really assessing the information around
I
her.
I think how we were saying like it's hiding the women's pain a lot, and it hit all of last episode from us,
Yeah.
with the scars for her, and we were saying we were completely oblivious. I think it's shown she's just as oblivious to the pain of others.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm as, and we'll see later on. She's hiding pain, and I think again going back to the idea of like maybe yeah, Camille's seeing things that aren't real. The flashback where she runs into the house with her sister when they're kids, and the mum just hugs her sister, and it's oh we need to take a bath, and just ignores her. And I'm wondering like, did she really like have favourites, or is this just how she's remembering it? Is Camille just remembering that she was neglected before her death?
Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it?
I'm not sure. Because there's one line from Jack that says, "Oh, before her sister's death, she was this free spirit. She was this great person, and that changed her." And it's like, what we are seeing in these flashbacks does not indicate that.
It doesn't, no. So
Um,
I mean, I'm more inclined to believe Jackie though than Camille's memories, given that
that's fair.
we've seen how distorted that they can be.
That's fair. And then the other moment as well at the funeral, where after everyone's left and young Camille goes to like rest her head on her mother's lap, and she just immediately gets up. She doesn't even want to, you know, be there. And
I think that one's more believable as being real for me because at least there I go, okay, no, that's at the funeral. She's struggling
oh sure,
just
yeah.
as much. I get why that can be the fracture of the relationship.
And I think it's interesting that, her mother hiding her pain, not openly dealing with it, and sort of making everything about everything else, led to her neglecting Camille, her well, she's got another daughter now, but at the time, her one daughter who was left, in a way helped create who Camille is. So it's like a knock-on effect, like her hiding her pain and just lashing out at her instead of just dealing with her pain, created kind of the person and helped enable Camille, and now Camille is kind of enabling her stepsister in a not in the exact same way, but in a similar sense. Instead of being honest about what's going on,
Yeah.
doing this. I think that's maybe kind of interesting and worth, what the show's maybe doing with that.
No, makes sense.
So yeah, it's still obviously it's still pretty slow paced. This episode was a little bit shorter. I think to its benefit probably. It felt like still a little bit punchier.
I think so. There's less times where I go, yo, that needs to be cut.
Yeah, it was only about 8 minutes shorter, which doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things. Going from like an hour 6 to 58 minutes, but it does actually make a bit of a difference.
It does, yeah.
Overall. So are we coming back next week? Are we checking out episode 3?
I mean, if you want, I'm not massively feeling it when I'm watching it, but obviously I can talk quite a lot about it. I'm not,
it's giving us a lot of talking points, and I think more to the point, there's not a lot else on right now, so it's probably worth.
If we were busy, I'd probably feel differently, but yeah, why not?
Yeah, no, I think it's worth continuing and talking about. So we'll be back next week with episode 3, and we'll chat about what's in there. Maybe get some more clues in the killer. I'm fully expecting. I don't think our sister will be next necessarily, but I'm expecting another girl to go missing very soon.
Yeah, I don't think next episode. I think it'll probably be 4.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, it could be wrong.
Now that we've got this victim back, I feel like okay, killer's going to.
Yeah, but obviously there was some time between the first 2 victims. I feel there's going to be a bit of a break. Otherwise, it's just okay. We're just rushing into the next one.
Yeah, but he's getting cocky.
Oh, maybe that's part of it.
He's getting cocky. Or there could be a time jump for all we know. Maybe she goes back home and she has to come back once another victim appears, or doesn't appear, but goes missing.
Yes.
But that is Sharp Objects. Sharp Objects. Notably, most pliers kind of are, but they specifically mentioned the pliers were sharp as well. I mean, that means a bunch.
Well, it's because you can get the blunt tip ones.
You can, yeah, but they specified sharp. I think that was just an intentional choice because the theme of the show. Also noticed that they were removing all the knives from the kitchen in the morning as well. And again, it was just Camille's just, and again, instead of talking to her about their concerns, they just do it. It's like, no, remove the knives and just.
I think it's starting to become clear that when her mother said, the place isn't ready for guests last episode, she meant, oh, hang on, all the knives are still out.
Yeah, and again, it's this sort of thing where instead of communicating, they just do it, and because of that, it creates this awkward tension instead of, it might not necessarily be, roses and sunshine having the conversation, but it would be less of an awkward, almost insult to just do it in front of them without saying anything,
Yeah.
So hey, but that's episode 2 of Sharp Objects. So I'm looking forward to more of this woman in white and the ghostliness of the whole thing, and the kid with the gun, because
America.
Because shitty parents and so that is episode 2. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. If you go over there, there's a bunch of bonuses. You get links to all of our various shows, all of our audio feeds, all that kind of stuff, and some more bonuses as well, of course. But if you can't do that, don't worry. You can also just support us by liking, subscribing, and all that crap. So that's us. So thank you very much once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?